day spring, brightness of light everlasting, and Sun of righteousness, come and enlighten him that sitteth in darkness and the shadow of death. Hi, and welcome again to Chant for today as we sing through the great O antiphons of late Advent. Today, the 21st of December, is the day when we sing this antiphon, O Orients. O Dayspring is the translation that I've just used. Sometimes it's translated O Morning Star, or something like that. It literally means O the East, in a slightly different translation. O Morning Star, radiance of the eternal light, Sun of justice, come and enlighten those who sit in darkness and the shadow of death. As we've moved through these antiphons, we began with O Sapientia, O Wisdom, this kind of quite general, quite broad, quite inclusive way of understanding God, and then moved on to O Adonai, the much more specific idea of the God who addressed himself, God's self, to Moses in the fire of the burning bush, and who has been known in the Jewish tradition as Adonai, as Lord, the God who called himself I am who I am, who can't be given in any straightforward way a name. We then heard the antiphons, O Root of Jesse and O Key of David, clearly identifying the one to whom we're praying, the one we're asking to come, in more specific terms, Jesse being the father of David and David himself, although the referent, as I explained, is to the keys which David holds. It's clear that the pointer is pointing to Jesus himself. But we're moving through the tradition from Moses to David, and closer and more kind of honing in more closely on the place of Jesus in the way that he fulfills that tradition, in the way that he fulfills God's relationship with his people in the story that we inherit in the Bible. Here we get this in some ways more general thing. Again, the morning star, of course, is not a completely specific Jewish name for God, but it is a name that's used in the prophets, and indeed that's used in the New Testament. The letter to the Hebrews calls Jesus the radiance of God's glory and the perfect likeness of his being. And when we think in those kind of terms of Jesus as the light, the radiance of the light, which is God's very being, we're of course reminded of the creed, this statement of faith, which is used in the Christian tradition often at the celebration of the Eucharist. The Nicene Creed speaks of God from God, light from light, true God of true God. Jesus being the full expression of the fullness of divinity, married to humanity. That he himself is the fullness of God's light, the light that we need to bring us out of darkness. We hear clearly in this prayer, come and enlighten those who sit in darkness and the shadow of death, an echo of the passage from Isaiah, which many of us will have heard at a carol service, which is often heard in the liturgy at Christmas, from Isaiah 9. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. You have multiplied the nation. You have increased its joy, and so on. This is seen very much as a promise of the coming of Jesus. For a child has been born to us, it goes on, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. So clearly in this prayer there's a kind of recognition of that promise in Isaiah and its association with the events that we prepare to celebrate in Christ's coming at Christmas. Interesting, later in Isaiah, I mean there's several bits of Isaiah which echoes are heard in this brief antiphon, but there is the word day star, this as in this English translation which I've just sung to you, appears in Isaiah 14, but it's not talking about Jesus, it's talking about the king of Babylon, and it's clear that here a day star refers, names somebody as a kind of a king, a supreme king. But Isaiah says, "How you are fallen from heaven, O day star, son of dawn! How you are cut down to the ground, you who laid the nations low," and so on. So Isaiah is kind of prophesying that the king of Babylon will fall because of his idolatry, because of his presumption, because of his hubris, because of his sort of wanting to raise himself above the place of God. And that, so day star, clearly it's a prophetic pointer to Jesus himself, like a bit like the word Adonai using Lord, but it can refer to anyone, to a big king, to not just a local king, but to an emperor, like the king of Babylon, the place where the Jews were in exile. In the first of these videos, talking about the antiphon O Sapientia, O Wisdom, we talked about how it ends, "Come and show us the way of prudence," and that prudence might not seem like a very exciting virtue, although it might be one that that Christianity has not often reflected sufficiently upon. In this one, it's clear that the prayer is about justice. Christ is addressed as, "O morning star, radiance of the eternal light, Son of justice," that's S-U-N, Son, that's the sun in the sky, rather than the Son of the Father. It's clear that justice is the virtue that's being reflected on. Come and bring, Son of justice, come and bring light to those who sit in darkness and the shadow of death. The prayer is for justice, for goodness, for hope for those. So, I think all four of those virtues, as well as the cardinal virtues of the theological virtues of faith, hope and love, are all kind of addressed and a part of the discourse, a part of what's being said in these prayers. Here, very clearly, the prayer is, "Come in your justice and bring goodness and help to us." So let me sing it to you again, this time in Latin. Oriens, splendor lucis et amne, et sol justitiae, veni et illumina, sedentes in tenebris, et umbra mortis.